The snow had been falling for 3 hours straight when Sophia Bennett's Tesla died on a back road outside Portland, Maine, leaving her stranded in a white void that seemed determined to swallow her whole. She sat there for a moment, staring at the dashboard in disbelief. The car's battery, which should have had plenty of charge, had apparently decided that -15 degrees was too much to handle. Sophia pulled her cashmere coat tighter around herself, watching her breath fog in the rapidly cooling interior. This was not how a Fortune 500 CEO was supposed to spend her Thursday evening. With no other choice, she grabbed her phone. Dead. Of course it was dead. She had been on conference calls for the last 2 hours of her drive from Boston, forgetting to plug it into the charger. Sophia laughed bitterly at the irony. She could buy a small country if she wanted to, but right now she could not call for help. The wind howled outside, rocking her car slightly. Through the steadily accumulating snow on her windows, she could barely make out what looked like a warm glow in the distance. A house, maybe, or a business. Anything was better than freezing to death in a luxury vehicle. Sophia pushed open the door, immediately regretting her choice of Laubaut in heels as her feet sank into 8 inches of fresh powder. The cold hit her like a physical force, stealing her breath. She started trudging toward the light, each step a small battle against the elements. By the time she reached what turned out to be a small auto repair shop with an apartment above it, her teeth were chattering so hard she thought they might crack. The main garage was closed, but light poured from a window on the second floor. She found a side door and knocked, then pounded when the wind threatened to drown out the sound. The door opened, and Sophia found herself looking up at a man who seemed to have walked out of a working man's catalog. He was tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair slightly too long and dusted with what looked like sawdust. He wore jeans and a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms that suggested he did actual physical labor for a living. His face was handsome in a rugged, unpolished way, with green eyes that widened in surprise at finding a woman dressed for a boardroom on his doorstep in a blizzard. "Help you?" he asked, his voice a deep rumble. "My car died about a quarter-mile down the road," Sophia managed through chattering teeth. "My phone is dead. I need to call a tow truck or someone, please." He stepped back immediately. Come in. You are going to lose fingers standing out there." His eyes took in her inappropriate footwear and thin coat with what looked like concern mixed with disbelief. "What were you thinking, driving in this weather dressed like that?" "I was in Boston this morning," she said, stepping into a narrow stairwell that led upward. It was blessedly warm. The storm was not supposed to hit until tomorrow. "Weather does not care about forecasts," he said, leading her up the stairs. "Come on up. I will get you some coffee and you can use my phone." The apartment above the garage was small but surprisingly cozy. The main space served as both living room and kitchen, with worn but comfortable-looking furniture and walls that needed paint. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator, held up by an assortment of magnets. A small Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated with homemade ornaments and a string of lights that blinked on and off. "Dad," a small voice came from a doorway to the left. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, appeared in pajamas covered in cartoon snowflakes. She had the same dark hair as the man, pulled into a lopsided ponytail, and sleepy blue eyes that regarded Sophia with curiosity. "Who is that?" "A lady whose car broke down, Pumpkin," the man said gently. "Go back to bed. It is late." "But I am not tired," the girl protested, even as she rubbed her eyes. "Emma, bed. Now, we talked about this." His voice was firm but warm, the tone of a father who had had this conversation before. The girl sighed dramatically but retreated. "Okay. Good night, lady with the fancy shoes." Despite everything, Sophia smiled. "Good night," the man gestured to a kitchen chair. "Sit, I will get you that coffee." He moved to the small kitchen area with practiced efficiency. "I am Isaac Morrison, by the way, Isaac, and that was my daughter Emma." "Sophia Bennett," she said, sinking gratefully into the chair. Warmth was slowly returning to her extremities, bringing with it a painful, tingling sensation. Isaac glanced at her as he poured coffee from a pot that looked like it had seen better days. Bennett. Why does that name sound familiar? I doubt you would know me, Sophia said, which was not entirely honest. Bennett Industries was one of the largest tech companies in the country, and her face had been on the cover of Forbes twice. He brought her the coffee in a chipped mug that said "World's Best Dad" and slid a phone across the table. Here. Though I should warn you, getting a tow truck out here tonight is going to be tough. The main roads are barely passable. Sophia wrapped her hands around the mug, savoring the warmth. She picked up the phone and dialed her assistant, then remembered it was almost 10 at night. She tried the emergency roadside assistance number for her car instead, only to be told what Isaac had already predicted. Nothing was moving tonight. They said maybe tomorrow morning, she said, setting the phone down. If the storm clears. Isaac nodded, leaning against the counter. You are welcome to stay here tonight. It is not fancy, but the couch is comfortable enough, better than freezing. I could not impose, Sophia started, even though she had no other options. You are not imposing, you are being practical. He crossed his arms, and she noticed again how the flannel stretched across his shoulders. Unless you want to walk 3 miles to the nearest hotel in a blizzard in those shoes. She looked down at her heels, now wet and probably ruined. I suppose that would be foolish. Just a bit, he agreed, and there was the hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth. Sophia found herself studying him. Isaac Morrison was nothing like the men she usually encountered. No expensive suit, no carefully styled hair, no practiced charm. He was direct and unpolished, and there was something refreshing about it. He had not recognized her name, had not treated her any differently because of who she was. To him, she was just a woman who needed help. Thank you, she said sincerely. I really appreciate this. No problem. He pushed off from the counter. Let me get you a blanket and pillow. And maybe some dry socks. Your feet have got to be soaked. He disappeared down the hallway, and Sophia took the opportunity to look around more carefully. The apartment was clean but showed signs of financial strain. The furniture was old, the electronics outdated. But there were also signs of care. Books lined a makeshift shelf, many of them children's books. The kitchen, though small, was organized. A calendar on the wall showed Emma's schedule in careful handwriting. Dance class on Tuesdays, library story time on Thursdays. Isaac returned with an armful of bedding and a pair of thick wool socks. These will be too big, but they are warm and dry. Are you sure your wife would not mind? Sophia asked, then felt foolish as his expression changed. No wife, he said quietly. Just me and Emma. Her mother left when Emma was 6 months old. Haven't heard from her since. I'm sorry, Sophia said, meaning it. He shrugged, setting the bedding on the couch. It is what it is. We managed just fine, the two of us. Sophia slipped off her ruined heels and pulled on the socks. They were indeed too big, but gloriously warm. How old is Emma? 5, kindergarten this year. His face softened when he talked about his daughter. Smart as a whip and stubborn as they come. Gets that from me, I think. She seems sweet. She has her moments. Isaac smiled properly then, and it transformed his face. She is the best thing in my life, only thing that matters, really. There was something in the way he said it that made Sophia's chest tight. She had spent the last 15 years building an empire, focusing on quarterly reports and stock prices and market share. She had money, power, success. But listening to this man talk about his daughter with such simple, profound love, she felt a strange sense of missing something. The garage is yours, she asked, changing the subject. Yeah, Morrison Auto Repair. Took it over from my uncle 5 years ago when he retired. It does not make me rich, but it pays the bills. Mostly. He grabbed his own coffee and sat down across from her. What about you? What brings you out to the middle of nowhere in a storm? Business meeting in Boston. I was heading back to New York. She wrapped her hands around her mug again. I should have checked the weather more carefully. Business, huh? What kind? Tech, software development mostly, some hardware. She kept it vague, not wanting to get into the details of Bennett Industries' latest acquisition or their expansion into artificial intelligence. Sounds fancy, Isaac said, without any trace of mockery. You must be pretty good at it to be driving a Tesla. I suppose I am decent at what I do, Sophia said, which was perhaps the understatement of the decade. They talked for another hour, an easy conversation that surprised Sophia with how natural it felt. Isaac told her about growing up in Maine, about taking over the garage, about the challenges of raising a daughter alone. Sophia found herself sharing more than she usually did, talking about the pressure of her work, the loneliness of always being the person in charge, the way success sometimes felt hollow. That is rough, Isaac said when she finished. I might not have much money, but at least I have Emma. I have got purpose, someone who needs me. That must be nice, Sophia said softly. Isaac looked at her for a long moment, his green eyes thoughtful. You know what I think? I think you have everything except what you actually want. The observation hit closer to home than Sophia cared to admit. She stood abruptly. I should let you get to sleep. You have probably got work tomorrow. Not if this storm keeps up, he said, standing as well. But yeah, if Emma wakes up at her usual time, we are both going to need rest. Bathroom is down the hall if you need it. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen. Thank you again, Isaac. Really? Just being neighborly, he said, but his eyes held hers for a moment longer than necessary before he headed down the hallway to his room. Sophia settled onto the couch, which was indeed more comfortable than she had expected, and pulled the blanket up to her chin. Outside, the wind continued to howl, rattling the windows. She should have been thinking about the meetings she was missing, the calls she needed to make, the deals that could not wait. Instead, she found herself thinking about green eyes and a lopsided smile, about a little girl in snowflake pajamas, about a man who had everything that mattered even though he had almost nothing at all. Morning came with the sound of small feet and the smell of pancakes. Sophia opened her eyes to find Emma standing beside the couch, staring at her with unabashed curiosity. You are still here, the girl observed. Emma, what did I say about bothering guests? Isaac's voice called from the kitchen. I am not bothering, I am observing, Emma called back, not taking her eyes off Sophia. Sophia sat up, trying to smooth her hair, which probably looked terrible. It is okay. Good morning, Emma. Good morning. Dad is making pancakes. Do you like pancakes? I like them with chocolate chips, but Dad says that is too much sugar for breakfast. I think that is silly because cereal has sugar and that is breakfast food. That is an excellent argument, Sophia said, charmed despite herself. That is what I said. Emma's face lit up. You should tell Dad that. Maybe he will listen to you. Isaac appeared in the doorway, wearing different jeans but the same kind of flannel shirt. His hair was damp from a shower. Emma, leave the poor woman alone. Sophia, I hope you like pancakes because it is pretty much the only thing I know how to make for breakfast. Pancakes sound wonderful, Sophia said, standing up and folding the blanket. The storm had passed during the night, leaving behind a world transformed into a winter wonderland. Through the windows, Sophia could see everything covered in at least a foot of fresh snow, glittering in the morning sun. They ate breakfast together at the small kitchen table. Emma chattering away about school and her friends and the dance recital she had coming up in 3 weeks. Isaac was patient with her, answering her endless questions while also making sure she actually ate her food. Can we build a snowman today, Dad? Emma asked, swinging her legs under the table. Maybe this afternoon, if I can get the plow working. I need to clear the lot down at the garage first. I should probably check on my car, Sophia said, and see about that tow truck. I can drive you down there after breakfast, Isaac offered. My truck can handle the snow, but honestly, if your Tesla's battery died in the cold, it probably just needs to warm up and charge. I have got a portable charger at the shop. I could get you running in an hour or so. You can fix a Tesla, he grinned. A car is a car. Some have more fancy computers, but the basics are all the same. I cannot promise anything, but I can take a look. An hour later, Sophia found herself in Isaac's ancient pickup truck, bumping along the snow-covered road. Emma had insisted on coming too, bundled up in a puffy purple coat that made her look like a small grape. "There it is," Sophia said, pointing to where her Tesla sat, now completely buried in snow. Isaac pulled up beside it and got out, immediately assessing the situation. "Okay, let me dig it out a bit and see what we are working with." He grabbed a shovel from the truck bed and started clearing snow away from the car. Sophia tried to help, but her fancy coat was not designed for manual labor, and she quickly realized she was more in the way than useful. Emma, meanwhile, had started building what she announced was going to be the world's best snow fort. Sophia watched Isaac work, struck by the easy competence in the way he moved. He was not showy about it, just efficient and capable. Within 20 minutes, he had the car cleared and was connecting a portable charging system to the battery. "Okay, let us give it a few minutes and see what happens," he said, brushing snow from his jeans. "How much do I owe you for this?" Sophia asked. Isaac looked surprised. "Nothing. I am just being helpful. But your time is valuable, and the equipment." "Sophia, you are overthinking this. Sometimes people just help because it is the right thing to do." He said it gently, without judgment, but it still made her feel oddly ashamed. In her world, everything had a price, everything was a transaction. The idea of simple kindness without expectation of payment felt foreign. "Look, Dad," Emma called out. "I made a door." "That is great, Pumpkin," Isaac called back, then turned back to Sophia. "Tell you what. You want to pay me back. When you get back to your fancy life, remember that there are people out here just trying to get by. Maybe that will be worth more than money." Before Sophia could respond, the Tesla's systems chimed to life. The charging had worked. "There you go," Isaac said, disconnecting his equipment. "Should be good enough to get you to a proper charging station. There is one about 30 miles south on the highway." Sophia climbed into her car, which felt cold and sterile compared to Isaac's warm apartment. She rolled down the window. "Thank you, Isaac, for everything. The help, the place to stay, breakfast, I mean it. Drive safe," he said. "Roads are going to be slick." Sophia nodded, but she did not pull away immediately. She watched as Isaac called Emma over, brushing snow off the girl's coat and saying something that made her laugh. The sight made something ache in Sophia's chest. Then Emma waved enthusiastically at her. "Bye, fancy shoes lady. Come back and visit." "Maybe I will," Sophia heard herself say before she could think better of it. Isaac met her eyes then, and something passed between them. An acknowledgement, a connection, something neither of them quite understood. Then Sophia put the car in drive and pulled away, watching them disappear in her rearview mirror. The drive back to New York should have cleared her head. She had conference calls to catch up on, a company to run, a life to get back to. But Sophia found her thoughts drifting back to that small apartment, to pancakes at a kitchen table, to a little girl's laughter and a man who fixed her car without expecting payment. By the time she reached her penthouse apartment in Manhattan, she had made a decision she knew was probably foolish. But she was going to do it anyway. 3 days later, Sophia found herself sitting in her office on the 42nd floor of Bennett Tower, staring at the research her assistant had compiled. Morrison Auto Repair was struggling. Behind on rent, equipment aging and in need of replacement, liability insurance about to lapse. Isaac had not said anything about the financial troubles, but the numbers did not lie. She could fix this. She could write a check that would be nothing to her but everything to him. But she also knew, instinctively, that Isaac Morrison would never accept charity from a stranger. Especially not the kind of charity she could offer, so she needed a reason to see him, a legitimate one. Sophia picked up her phone and dialed. "Morrison Auto Repair," Isaac's voice came through, professional and warm. "Isaac, it is Sophia Bennett from a few nights ago." A pause. Sophia, hey, everything okay with your car? The car is fine. Perfect, actually. I wanted to thank you again for your help. No thanks necessary. I am glad you made it back safe. Sophia took a breath. Actually, I was calling because I might need your help with something else. I have a vacation house in Maine, about an hour from where you are. I have not been there in years, but I am thinking of spending some time there this winter. The problem is, I do not have a reliable mechanic in the area, and given the weather up there, that seems foolish. Another pause. She could almost hear him thinking. You want me to be your mechanic? If you would be willing, I would pay your normal rates, of course. Plus extra for the drive if you need to come out. I just feel better knowing I have someone reliable I can call. It was not entirely a lie. She did have a house in Maine, inherited from her grandmother, and she did need a mechanic if she was going to be there. I appreciate the offer, Isaac said slowly, but I should be honest, I am not really set up for luxury vehicles. I mostly work on trucks and older cars. But you fixed my Tesla. That was a battery issue, routine stuff. If something serious goes wrong with a car like that, you would be better off with a specialist. Maybe so, Sophia said, but I trust you, and I would feel better knowing I could call you if I needed help. She held her breath, waiting. This was ridiculous. She was a billionaire CEO, and she was practically begging a small-town mechanic to take her money. But something about Isaac Morrison had gotten under her skin in a way she did not fully understand. All right, Isaac said finally. If you really want to hire me, I am happy to help. When are you thinking of heading up to Maine? This weekend, actually. Would you have time to come by the house Saturday, just to check things over, make sure everything is working order? It has been sitting empty for a while. I can do that. Text me the address. I will, thank you, Isaac. After she hung up, Sophia sat back in her chair and stared out at the Manhattan skyline. What was she doing? She had just manufactured an excuse to see a man she barely knew, a man who lived a completely different life in a completely different world. This was not like her. She was focused, driven, not someone who made impulsive decisions based on feelings. But Emma's laughter kept echoing in her mind. And Isaac's words, "You have everything except what you actually want." Maybe it was time to figure out what she actually wanted. Saturday morning found Sophia driving north again, this time in her Range Rover, which was better suited for winter driving. The house was just outside a small coastal town, set back on 10 acres of pine forest with a view of the ocean. It had been her grandmother's pride and joy, but Sophia had not been there since the woman passed away 5 years ago. She paid a service to maintain it, but otherwise, the house sat empty. As she pulled up the long driveway, she wondered what Isaac would think of it. It was not a mansion by billionaire standards, but it was still a far cry from his apartment above the garage. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a gourmet kitchen, floor-to-ceiling windows facing the water. Worth at least $2 million, probably more. She had just finished unloading her bags when she heard a truck coming up the driveway. Isaac's pickup appeared, looking even more battered in the daylight. Her heart did an unexpected flutter as he climbed out. He was wearing jeans and a work jacket, his breath fogging in the cold air. He stood for a moment, taking in the house. "This is your vacation place. It was my grandmother's. I inherited it." Sophia walked over to him. "Thank you for coming." "Not a problem." He grabbed a toolbox from the truck bed. "So what do you need me to look at?" "I wanted you to check my car, make sure it is winterized properly. And I thought maybe you could show me how to use the backup generator in case the power goes out." Isaac nodded. "I can do that. The Range Rover should be fine, but I will give it a once-over." They spent the next hour going through the car and the generator. Isaac was patient as he showed her how everything worked, never making her feel stupid for not knowing. He was thorough and knowledgeable, and watching him work, Sophia found herself fascinated by his hands. They were strong and capable, scarred from years of manual labor, nothing like the soft hands of the executives she usually dealt with. "All set," Isaac said finally. "You are good to go, though I still say if something serious goes wrong with this car, you should take it to a specialist." Noted, Sophia said. Would you like some coffee before you head back? It is the least I can offer after you drove all the way out here. Isaac glanced at his watch. I should not. Emma is with my neighbor, and I told her I would be back by noon. Of course. Let me pay you for your time. Sophia pulled out her checkbook. My usual rate is $65 an hour. I was here about an hour, so that works out to $65. Sophia stared at him. That is absurdly cheap. That is my rate, Isaac said firmly. Same as I charge everyone else. But you drove an hour to get here. Sophia, I am not going to charge you extra because you have money. $65. Take it or leave it. She wrote the check for $200, knowing he would probably argue but doing it anyway. When she handed it to him, his expression darkened. I said 65. And I am paying for your expertise and your time, including travel. 200 is more than fair. They stared at each other for a long moment. Sophia could see the pride warring with practicality in his eyes. Finally, he took the check. Thank you, he said quietly. But do not make a habit of this. I do not need charity. It is not charity, it is fair payment for good work. Isaac folded the check and put it in his pocket. I should head out. Wait, Sophia said, surprising herself. How is Emma? Did she get to build that snowman? His expression softened immediately. Yeah, we built one that afternoon. It is still standing in the yard. She named it Mr. Frosty, which is not exactly creative, but she was proud of it. She seems like a wonderful little girl. She is, Isaac smiled. She actually asked about you yesterday. Wanted to know if the fancy shoes lady was okay? Sophia laughed. I bought snow boots this time, just in case. Good plan. He started toward his truck, then paused. Hey, if you are going to be around for a while, there is a winter festival in town next weekend. Nothing fancy, just local stuff. Crafts, hot chocolate, kids' activities. Emma would probably love to show you her dance class performance if you wanted to come. Was he asking her to spend time with him? I would like that, Sophia said before she could second-guess herself. Great. It starts at 2 on Saturday at the community center. I will text you the details. After he left, Sophia went inside and sat in the living room, looking out at the ocean. The water was gray and choppy, winter waves crashing against the rocky shore. She should have been reviewing the quarterly reports her assistant had sent. Instead, she was thinking about a little girl named Emma and her father with the careful hands and guarded smile. This was dangerous territory. Sophia had not gotten where she was by being distracted or losing focus. Romance had always been low on her priority list, something she figured she would get around to eventually, when she had more time. The few relationships she had had were practical arrangements with equally busy executives, more about companionship and networking than actual emotion. But Isaac made her feel things she had not felt before, made her want things she had not known she wanted. She picked up her phone and texted her assistant that she would be working remotely for the next few weeks. Then she opened her laptop and actually tried to focus on work. She lasted about 20 minutes before she was looking at the calendar, counting down the days until Saturday. The week passed slowly. Sophia threw herself into work, taking video conferences from her grandmother's house, reviewing proposals, making decisions that affected thousands of employees and millions of dollars. But in the evenings, she found herself going for walks on the beach, bundled up against the cold, thinking about her life and whether she was actually happy or just successful. Thursday afternoon, her phone rang. Isaac's name appeared on the screen. Hello? Hey, Sophia. I hope I am not bothering you. Not at all. Is everything okay? Yeah, fine. I was just wondering if you would want to come to dinner tomorrow night. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and salad. Emma keeps asking about you, and I thought it might be nice, if you are free. Sophia's heart skipped. I would love to. Great, around 6, same address as before. I will be there. After she hung up, Sophia realized she was smiling like a teenager. This was ridiculous. She was 34 years old, a self-made billionaire, and she was giddy about a dinner invitation for spaghetti. But she spent Friday afternoon trying to figure out what to wear, eventually settling on nice jeans and a cashmere sweater. Casual but put together. She did not want to look like she was trying too hard. When she pulled up to the garage at 5:55 on Friday evening, Emma was watching for her from the window. The girl's face lit up and she disappeared from view. By the time Sophia reached the side door, Emma had it open. "You came. Dad said you might be too busy because you have important work, but I said you would come because you are nice." "I would not miss it," Sophia said, charmed all over again. The apartment smelled amazing, like garlic and tomatoes and fresh bread. Isaac was in the kitchen, stirring a pot on the stove. He had changed into a clean shirt and his hair was still damp. He looked good, really good. "Hey," he said, turning with a smile. "Thanks for coming. Thanks for inviting me." Sophia held up a bottle of wine she had brought. "I did not know if you drink wine, but I thought I would bring something. I appreciate it, though I have to warn you, my wine glasses are just regular glasses, no fancy stemware here." "I think I will survive," Sophia said dryly. Dinner was wonderful in a way that had nothing to do with the food, though the food was actually pretty good. Emma dominated the conversation, telling Sophia all about kindergarten and her best friend Lucy and the new dance moves she was learning. Isaac interjected occasionally, keeping Emma from completely monopolizing the conversation, but mostly he just watched the two of them with a soft expression Sophia could not quite read. After dinner, Emma insisted on showing Sophia her room, which was small but cheerful, decorated with posters of cartoon characters and more of the drawings that covered the fridge. A well-loved stuffed bunny sat on the bed. "That is Mr. Hops," Emma explained. "I have had him since I was a baby. Dad says he is probably going to fall apart soon, but I will love him anyway." "I think that is very loyal of you," Sophia said seriously. "Do you have kids?" Emma asked suddenly. "No, I do not." "How come?" "Emma," Isaac's voice came from the doorway, "that is kind of personal." "But I want to know," Emma protested. Sophia smiled. "It is okay. The truth is, I have been very focused on my work. I have not had time for a family." Emma considered this. "That is sad. Everyone should have a family. Dad says family is the most important thing. Your dad is a smart man." "I know," Emma said matter-of-factly. "He is the best dad in the whole world." "All right, Munchkin, time to brush your teeth and get ready for bed," Isaac said, "but it is only 7:30. And it is a school night, you know the rules." Emma sighed dramatically but obeyed, giving Sophia a quick hug before heading to the bathroom. "Will you come back again?" "If your dad invites me," Sophia said. "Dad, you have to invite her back," Emma called from the bathroom. Isaac laughed. "I think you have a new biggest fan." They settled on the couch while Emma got ready for bed, and Isaac poured them each some wine in regular tumblers, just as he had warned. "Sorry about the interrogation," Isaac said. "Emma has not really been around many women. My neighbor who watches her sometimes is about 70, and her teachers change every year. She gets curious." "I do not mind. She is delightful. She is something, all right." He took a sip of wine. "So, what have you been doing all week in that big house by yourself?" "Working, mostly." "Conference calls, reviewing reports. The usual." "Sounds thrilling," Sophia laughed. "It really is not. What about you?" "Fixed a transmission on a Ford F-150, changed oil on about 6 different cars, and tried to figure out how I am going to afford new equipment before the old stuff completely dies." He said it lightly, but she could hear the stress underneath. "Business not going well?" Isaac shrugged. "Business is fine. I have plenty of work. It is just that by the time I pay rent on the garage and the apartment and Emma's dance classes and everything else, there is not much left over for upgrades. I am hanging on, but I am not exactly getting ahead." "Have you thought about taking out a loan?" "Banks are not real interested in lending to guys like me. No collateral, no financial cushion. One bad month and I would be underwater." He smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "But we manage. Emma has everything she needs, and that is what matters." Sophia wanted to offer help, but she knew how that conversation would go. Isaac had made his position on charity clear. So instead, she just listened as he talked about the challenges of running a small business, of being a single parent, of trying to give his daughter a good life on a limited income. "You know what the worst part is," Isaac said. "I do not mind being poor, I really do not. I grew up without much and I turned out fine, but I hate that Emma sometimes has to go without. She wanted to join the soccer league this spring, but I had to tell her no because I could not afford the fees, and the look on her face when I said that." He shook his head. "That killed me." "You are a good father," Sophia said quietly. "Emma is lucky to have you. I am the lucky one. She is the reason I get up every morning, the reason I keep trying." He looked at Sophia then, really looked at her. "What about you? What is your reason?" No one had ever asked her that before. "I don't know," Sophia admitted. "I used to think it was about building something, creating value, being successful, but lately I am not sure those are good enough reasons anymore. Maybe you need to find new ones. Maybe I do." They talked for another hour, the conversation flowing easily. Sophia found herself sharing things she never talked about. Her difficult relationship with her parents, who had wanted her to marry well rather than build a company. The loneliness of being at the top. The way success sometimes felt like a burden rather than an achievement. Isaac listened without judgment, offering insights that suggested he understood more than most people would about what really mattered in life. When Sophia finally left, it was almost 10. Isaac walked her down to her car, his breath fogging in the cold air. "Thank you for coming," he said. "It meant a lot to Emma, and to me. Thank you for inviting me. I had a wonderful time." They stood there for a moment, and Sophia was acutely aware of how close he was, how easy it would be to lean forward, but she did not. This was too new, too fragile, too important to rush. "I will see you tomorrow at the festival," she said instead. "We will be there. Emma is performing at 3. I would not miss it." The next day, Sophia found herself ridiculously nervous as she got ready for the winter festival. She changed outfits 3 times, finally settling on jeans, boots, and a heavy sweater. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. When had she last dressed casually? When had she last cared this much about how she looked for something that was not work-related? The community center was packed when she arrived, full of families and children and the smell of hot chocolate and fresh popcorn. She spotted Isaac and Emma near the stage, Emma in a sparkly pink leotard under her coat. "Sophia." Emma waved enthusiastically, nearly hitting another child in the face. "Hey, pumpkin, careful," Isaac said, catching her arm. He smiled at Sophia. "Hey, I'm glad you made it." "I would not have missed this," Sophia said, and meant it. They wandered through the festival together, Emma dragging them from booth to booth, exclaiming over the crafts and the cookies and everything else. Sophia found herself relaxing, laughing at Emma's enthusiasm, enjoying the simple pleasure of a community event. Several people stopped to talk to Isaac, clearly familiar with him. He introduced Sophia simply as "my friend Sophia," and no one seemed to recognize her. It was weirdly liberating, being anonymous, being seen as just a person rather than a CEO or a billionaire. When Emma's dance class took the stage, Sophia and Isaac found seats near the front. Emma waved at them from backstage, her face lit up with excitement. The performance was adorable chaos. 6 little girls in sparkly leotards attempting a synchronized routine to a popular song. Emma forgot several of the moves and improvised wildly, but her enthusiasm made up for any lack of technique. Sophia found herself grinning, caught up in the joy of it. "She is terrible," Isaac whispered to Sophia, but his voice was full of pride. "She is perfect," Sophia whispered back. After the performance, Emma ran over to them, breathless and glowing. "Did you see me? Did you see my spin?" "You were amazing," Sophia said, pulling the girl into a hug without thinking about it. Emma hugged her back tightly. "I am so glad you came." They stayed for another hour, and Sophia bought hot chocolate for all of them and listened to Emma recount every moment of the performance. She felt Isaac watching her, and when she glanced over, there was something in his expression that made her heart race. As the afternoon wound down and people started heading home, Isaac suggested they walk down to the waterfront. Emma ran ahead, leaving a trail of footprints in the light snow that had fallen. "So, what did you think of small-town entertainment?" Isaac asked. "I loved it," Sophia said honestly. "I cannot remember the last time I did something like this, something just for fun." "That is sad," Isaac said, echoing Emma's words from the previous night. "I know." Sophia watched Emma spinning in circles, her arms out wide, but being here with you and Emma, it does not feel sad. It feels right. Isaac stopped walking. They had reached a small park overlooking the water, and Emma was distracted by a playground. "Sophia, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why are you really here? I mean, you have got this whole life in New York. You are obviously very successful, very busy. But you have been in Maine for over a week, having dinner with me, coming to kids' festivals. I feel like I am missing something." Sophia took a breath. This was it. The moment where she could either be honest or retreat back into her careful, controlled world. "The truth, I do not know exactly. When I met you that night in the storm, something shifted. You and Emma, the way you live, the way you care about each other, it made me realize my life is empty. And being around you fills something in me I did not even know was missing." Isaac's green eyes searched her face. "I am not some charity case, Sophia, and I am not interested in being someone's experiment in slumming it." "That is not what this is," Sophia said firmly. "I like you, Isaac. I like being around you. You make me feel like I can just be myself, not the CEO or the billionaire or any of those other labels. You see me as just Sophia, and that is incredibly rare." "You are not just anything," Isaac said quietly. "That is what I have been trying to figure out. How someone like you ends up interested in someone like me. Maybe we are not as different as you think." "We are very different," Isaac said. "I live in a 2-bedroom apartment and worry about making rent. You have a vacation house worth more than I will make in my entire life. We are from different worlds. So, maybe I am tired of my world, maybe I want to see what yours is like." Isaac ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "It is not a game, Sophia. This is my life, Emma's life. I cannot just have you drop in when you are feeling unfulfilled and then disappear when you get bored. That is not fair to any of us." "You are right," Sophia said. "And I am not asking you to let me play at being part of your life. I am asking if you would be willing to see where this goes. Because I think there is something here between us. I think you feel it too." Isaac was quiet for a long moment, watching Emma on the swings. "Yeah, I feel it," he finally said. "From the moment you showed up on my doorstep looking like a drowned cat in expensive shoes, I have not been able to stop thinking about you. But that does not mean this is a good idea. Since when do good ideas matter when it comes to feelings?" He laughed despite himself. "That is a fair point." He turned to look at her fully. "Okay, let us say we try this. What does that even look like? You are going to commute from New York to Maine to date a mechanic. I am working remotely right now. I can stay in Maine as long as I need to. And when I do have to go back to New York, it is only a few hours. We can make it work if we want to. And Emma, she is already getting attached to you. If this does not work out, she is going to be hurt." That stopped Sophia cold. She had not thought about it from that angle. "I would never hurt Emma." "Not on purpose," Isaac agreed. "But life happens. People drift apart. I need to know you are serious about this before we go any further." Sophia stepped closer to him, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "I am more serious about this than I have been about anything in a long time. I cannot promise everything will be perfect, but I can promise I am not going anywhere unless you tell me to go." Isaac looked at her for a long moment, something vulnerable and hopeful in his expression. Then he leaned down and kissed her. It was gentle at first, tentative testing. But when Sophia responded, wrapping her arms around his neck, the kiss deepened. She felt it all the way to her toes, a warmth that had nothing to do with the temperature and everything to do with the man holding her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Isaac rested his forehead against hers. "Okay," he whispered. "Let us try this. Dad, Sophie, look how high I can swing." Emma's voice carried across the playground, shattering the moment. They both laughed, pulling apart reluctantly. Isaac took Sophia's hand, threading their fingers together, and they walked over to watch Emma show off. Later, as Sophia drove back to her grandmother's house, she could not stop smiling. Her phone had 17 missed calls and 43 emails, but she did not care. For the first time in years, work was not the most important thing in her life. The next few weeks fell into a pattern that felt both surreal and surprisingly natural. Sophia worked from Maine, taking calls and video conferences during the day. In the evenings and on weekends, she spent time with Isaac and Emma. They had dinner together several times a week. They went ice skating on the pond near the community center, where Sophia proved to be terrible on skates, and Isaac had to hold her up. They made snow angels and built another snowman and had a snowball fight that left all three of them soaked and laughing. Emma bloomed under the attention, and Sophia found herself getting more and more attached to the little girl. They had tea parties with imaginary tea and real cookies. Emma taught Sophia the dance routine from the festival, and they performed it for Isaac in the living room while he applauded enthusiastically. They read books together before bed. Emma snuggled against Sophia's side, and with Isaac, things deepened in a way that both thrilled and terrified Sophia. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. He told her about his dreams for the garage, about wanting to expand, to hire help, to build something sustainable for Emma's future. She told him about the pressure of running a billion-dollar company, about board meetings and hostile takeovers, and the constant fear of failure. They kissed whenever they could steal a moment alone, sweet kisses and passionate ones, kisses that promised more when the time was right. But they were careful around Emma, not wanting to confuse her or move too fast. Isaac was very protective of his daughter's emotional well-being, and Sophia respected that. 3 weeks after the winter festival, Isaac invited Sophia over for Emma's 6th birthday party. It was a small celebration, just a few kids from Emma's class and their parents, but Emma had insisted Sophia had to be there. Sophia arrived with gifts, probably too many gifts, though she had tried to be restrained. A new stuffed animal to keep Mr. Hop's company, art supplies, books, and a beautiful snow globe with a dancing girl inside. Emma's eyes went wide when she opened the packages. "This is too much," she whispered, but she was hugging the stuffed animal tightly. "Nothing is too much for the birthday girl," Sophia said, ignoring Isaac's look that suggested they would be discussing this later. The party was chaotic and loud and wonderful. Sophia helped serve cake and ice cream, played pin the tail on the donkey, and laughed as Emma and her friends ran wild with sugar-fueled energy. Several of the other parents tried to make conversation with her, clearly curious about who she was and what her relationship with Isaac might be. After the other guests left and Emma was in her room playing with her new toys, Isaac pulled Sophia aside. "We need to talk about the gifts," he said. "They were not that expensive," Sophia lied. "Sophia, that snow globe probably cost more than I spend on groceries in a month. So, I wanted to get her something special." "I appreciate that, but you cannot just throw money at every situation. Emma needs to understand the value of things, needs to not expect everything to be handed to her." "I know that," Sophia said, frustrated. "I was not trying to undermine you. I just wanted to make her happy." "She would have been happy with a card and a hug," Isaac said, but his voice had softened. "Look, I know you mean well, but I am trying to raise Emma to be grounded, to appreciate what she has. And if you keep showering her with expensive gifts, that is going to be hard." He was right, Sophia knew, but it was difficult. She had money, and she wanted to use it to help the people she cared about. "I will be more careful," she promised. "I am still learning how this works." Isaac pulled her into a hug. "I know you are, and I appreciate that you are trying." He kissed the top of her head. "Emma loves you, you know that, right?" Sophia's throat tightened. "I love her too, and you, I love both of you. Isaac pulled back to look at her. You love me. Yes. The word came out steadier than she felt. I know it is fast, and maybe I should not be saying it, but I do. I love you, Isaac Morrison. His smile was brilliant, transforming his face. Good, because I love you too, have for weeks if I am being honest. He kissed her then, deep and slow and full of promise. They only broke apart when Emma called from her room, asking if Sophia could help her name the new stuffed animal. That night, after Emma was asleep and they were sitting on the couch, Sophia broached a subject that had been on her mind. I have been thinking. Your garage needs new equipment, right? What if I invested in the business? Isaac's expression immediately shuddered. No. Just hear me out. It would be a proper business investment. You would pay me back with interest. I would be a silent partner, not involved in the day-to-day operations, but it would give you the capital you need to upgrade and expand. Sophia, I said no. Why? It makes sense financially. Because I do not want your money, Isaac said firmly. I want to build my business on my own, through my own work and my own efforts. If I take your money, even as an investment, it changes everything. I become your charity project, and that is not what I want to be. You are not a charity project, Sophia said, hurt. I am trying to help, I know. But this is important to me. I need to do this myself. Can you understand that? Sophia wanted to argue, to point out that accepting help was not the same as accepting charity, that partnerships were how businesses grew. But she also heard the steel in his voice, the pride and determination that were fundamental parts of who he was. I understand, she said, even though she did not really. But if you ever change your mind, the offer stands. Thank you, but I will not change my mind. It was their first real disagreement, and it left Sophia unsettled. She was used to solving problems with money, with power, with leverage, but none of that worked here. Isaac could not be bought or persuaded or manipulated, and while she admired that, it was also incredibly frustrating. The next morning, Sophia had to return to New York for a series of meetings she could not conduct remotely. She promised to be back by the weekend, but leaving felt harder than she expected. Emma clung to her at the door. Do you have to go? I do, sweetie, but I will be back in 4 days. That is not so long, but I will miss you. I will miss you too. Sophia hugged her tightly, then looked up at Isaac. Take care of each other. We always do, Isaac said, pulling her into a kiss that promised she would be missed. The drive back to New York felt like traveling to a different planet. The city was loud and crowded and gray, nothing like the white peace of coastal Maine. Her penthouse apartment felt sterile and cold, more like a hotel than a home. The meetings were exhausting, full of the usual corporate politics and posturing. Sophia found herself distracted, her mind drifting back to a small apartment above a garage, to a little girl's laughter, to a man who looked at her like she was more than a name on a Forbes list. On her second night back, her father called. Jonathan Bennett was a formidable man, a self-made millionaire who had given Sophia the seed money to start her company, but had otherwise stayed out of her business. I heard you have been spending time in Maine, he said without preamble. News travels fast, Sophia said dryly. I have people who keep me informed. They say you have been seeing someone, a mechanic with a daughter. His name is Isaac, and yes, I am seeing him. Her father was quiet for a moment. Is this serious? Very. Sophia, I am not going to tell you how to live your life, but I hope you are thinking this through. You are a public figure, the CEO of a major company. The media will have a field day if they find out you are dating someone so far outside your social circle. Let them, Sophia said. I do not care what the media thinks. But the board might. Shareholders might. Your personal life affects the company whether you like it or not. The board cares about profits, and we have been breaking records every quarter. My personal life is my own business. I hope you are right, her father said. But be careful. Men have married women like you for their money before. The implication made Sophia's blood boil. Isaac is nothing like that. He does not even want my money. In fact, he refused to let me invest in his business. That seemed to surprise her father. He did, Yes, he has pride and integrity and values that do not revolve around money. Maybe you should meet him before judging. Maybe I should, her father said thoughtfully. If he is going to be part of your life, I should know what kind of man he is. After they hung up, Sophia sat in her empty apartment and tried not to let her father's words get to her. But they had planted seeds of doubt. What would happen when the media found out about her relationship? Would it affect the company? And more importantly, how would Isaac and Emma handle being thrust into that kind of spotlight? By Friday, Sophia could not wait to get back to Maine. She left her assistant a list of things that needed to be handled and drove north as fast as traffic allowed. When she pulled up to the garage, Emma ran out to meet her, not even wearing a coat despite the cold. "You are back, you are back." Emma threw herself into Sophia's arms. "Emma, coat," Isaac called from the doorway, but he was smiling. Sophia carried Emma inside, the girl chattering nonstop about everything that had happened in the last 4 days. Isaac pulled Sophia into a kiss as soon as Emma was distracted with showing Sophia a new drawing. "I missed you," he murmured against her lips. "I missed you too, so much." That night, after Emma was asleep, Sophia told Isaac about her father's concerns. She expected him to be angry or defensive, but instead he just nodded. "He is not wrong to worry," Isaac said. "I have been thinking about this too. What happens when people find out who you really are?" "Right now, no one around here knows you are Sophia Bennett, CEO. They just think you are Sophia, my girlfriend who has a vacation house nearby. But that is not going to last forever." "Does it matter?" Sophia asked. "It might, to Emma especially. Kids can be cruel, and if they find out her dad is dating someone famous and rich, she might get teased or treated differently. I do not want that for her." "So what are you saying?" Isaac took her hands. "I am saying we need to be smart about this. Maybe we should keep a low profile for a while longer, at least until we are sure this is going to work long term. Give Emma time to adjust, give the community time to get used to you being around. Then, when the truth comes out, it will not be such a shock." It made sense, but Sophia felt a pang of disappointment. She had never had to hide a relationship before. But then again, she had never had a relationship that mattered this much. "Okay," she agreed, "we will keep things quiet for now. But Isaac, I need you to know that I am in this for the long term. This is not some fling or experiment. I love you and I love Emma, and I want to build a life with you both." "I want that too," Isaac said, "more than anything. I just want to do it right, make sure we are protecting Emma through all of this." They kissed, sealing the promise, and Sophia felt a sense of peace settle over her. This was right. Complicated maybe, but right. Over the next month, they settled into a routine. Sophia spent most of her time in Maine, going back to New York only when absolutely necessary. She became a regular fixture at the apartment, at Emma's school events, in the community. People accepted her as Isaac's girlfriend without much fanfare, and she loved the anonymity of it. She also, quietly, started working behind the scenes to help Isaac's business in ways he would not notice. She mentioned Morrison Auto Repair to her assistant, who happened to mention it to someone who needed a good mechanic in Maine, who then recommended Isaac to several friends. Business started picking up, enough that Isaac had to hire a part-time helper. "I do not know where all these new customers are coming from," Isaac said one night, looking at his schedule in amazement, "but I am not complaining. If this keeps up, I might actually be able to afford that new lift I have been wanting." Sophia just smiled, feeling a warm glow of satisfaction. She was helping without him knowing, supporting his dreams without injuring his pride. It felt like the right balance. Emma's dance recital came in early March, and Sophia sat in the audience with the other parents, feeling oddly emotional. Emma had improved since the winter festival, actually managing to remember most of the routine. When she took her bow at the end, she looked right at Sophia and Isaac and waved. "She is amazing," Sophia whispered to Isaac. "She gets it from me," Isaac whispered back with a grin, and Sophia elbowed him in the ribs. After the recital, they went out for ice cream to celebrate. Emma got chocolate chip with rainbow sprinkles, and she ended up with more ice cream on her face than in her stomach. Watching Isaac patiently clean her up, Sophia felt a surge of love so strong it almost hurt. This was what she wanted. This was what had been missing from her life. Not success or money or power, but love. Family. Belonging. That night after Emma was in bed, Sophia and Isaac finally took the step they had both been waiting for. Their lovemaking was slow and sweet and intense, a physical expression of everything they felt. Afterwards, lying in Isaac's arms in his small bedroom, Sophia felt more complete than she ever had in her penthouse overlooking Manhattan. "I could get used to this," Isaac murmured, running his fingers through her hair. "You better," Sophia said, "because I am not going anywhere." "Good." They fell asleep tangled together, and when Sophia woke in the middle of the night, she watched Isaac sleep, memorizing every detail of his face. This man, this good, kind, stubborn, proud man, had become the center of her world, and his daughter had become the child she had never known she wanted. Morning came with Emma jumping on the bed. "Sophia is still here, Dad. Sophia did not go home." "That is because this is my home now," Sophia said, pulling Emma into a hug. "If that is okay with you." Emma's face lit up like Christmas morning. "Really, you are going to live with us?" "Well, I will probably keep my house too," Sophia said, glancing at Isaac for confirmation. "But I will be here a lot, if your dad says it is okay." "More than okay," Isaac said, sitting up and pulling both of them close. "It is perfect." 2 weeks later, Sophia had to go back to New York for the quarterly board meeting. She had been dreading it, knowing she could not avoid it any longer. This was the first meeting since she had essentially relocated to Maine, and she knew there would be questions. The meeting went as expected. The numbers were good, profits up, several new products launching successfully. But during the closed session with just the board members, the chairman, Walter Harrison, brought up what everyone was clearly thinking. "Sophia, we have all noticed you have been working remotely more often. Is everything all right?" "Everything is fine," Sophia assured them. "I have been managing my responsibilities effectively from Maine, as the numbers show." "But is this a permanent arrangement?" another board member asked. "Because if you are planning to relocate, we should discuss how that affects your role as CEO." Sophia took a breath. "I am not relocating permanently, but I am spending more time in Maine because my personal life is there. I am in a relationship, and I am committed to making it work while still fulfilling my obligations to this company." "A relationship," Walter said slowly. "I see. And is this person someone who understands the demands of your position?" "He understands, and he is supportive," Sophia said firmly. "And my personal life does not affect my ability to run this company." The meeting moved on, but Sophia could feel the judgment. After it ended, Walter pulled her aside. "I am happy you have found someone," he said, "but you need to be careful. The media will eventually find out, and depending on who this person is, it could become a story. We cannot afford any scandals or distractions right now." "There will not be any scandal," Sophia said. "Isaac is a good man, and this relationship is nobody's business but ours." "I hope you are right, but be prepared. The media loves a billionaire romance story, especially if there is an unusual angle." Walter's words haunted Sophia on the drive back to Maine. She had been living in a bubble, pretending the outside world did not exist. But eventually, someone would recognize her, someone would put the pieces together. And then what? When she got back to the apartment, Emma was already asleep and Isaac was working at the kitchen table, surrounded by paperwork. "Hey," he said, looking up with a smile. "How did it go?" "Fine. Numbers are good, but the board is concerned about me being in Maine so much." Isaac's expression became guarded. "Are they going to make you stay in New York?" "No, but they are worried about what happens when the media finds out about us." "So am I," Isaac admitted. He set down his pen. "Sophia, I have been thinking about this a lot. What happens when people find out you are a billionaire? When they find out you run a Fortune 500 company? This whole town is going to look at me differently. They are going to think I am using you for your money." The people who know you would never think that. Maybe not, but others will, and Emma is going to be affected. Kids at school, other parents, everyone is going to treat her differently when they know who you are. So what do we do? Sophia asked, feeling helpless. Isaac stood and came over to her, taking her hands. We face it together. We are honest with people before they find out from some news article. We control the narrative as much as we can. Okay, how do we do that? I think we start by telling the people closest to us. My neighbor, Emma's teacher, a few friends. Let them hear it from us first. Then, when it inevitably gets out to the wider world, at least the people who matter will have heard the truth. Over the next week, they did exactly that. They sat down with Mrs. Chen, Isaac's neighbor who sometimes watched Emma. They talked to Emma's teacher, Miss Riley. They told the few friends Isaac had stayed close with since high school. The reactions were mixed, but mostly positive. People were surprised, certainly, but they could also see that Sophia and Isaac genuinely cared about each other. The hardest conversation was with Emma. She was too young to really understand what it meant that Sophia was wealthy, but they tried to explain that some things might change, that people might treat them differently. But you are still going to be here, right? Emma asked, her blue eyes worried. You are not going to leave. I am not going anywhere, Sophia promised. No matter what anyone says or thinks, I love you and your dad. That is not going to change. Emma seemed satisfied with that, though Sophia knew there would be more conversations as the girl got older and understood more. The news broke 3 weeks later, not as a major story, but as a small item in a business publication. Bennett Industries CEO, Sophia Bennett, spotted in Maine with local mechanic. Someone had taken a photo of them at the grocery store, and that was enough to start the speculation. Within days, it had spread. Tabloids picked it up, putting their own spin on it. Billionaire's unlikely romance. From boardroom to auto shop, Sophia Bennett's new life. The photos were mostly innocent, but taken without their permission, showing them at the park with Emma, walking down Main Street holding hands. The attention was intense and invasive. Reporters showed up at the garage, trying to get comments. Someone tracked down Sophia's phone number and started calling at all hours. Emma came home from school crying because some of the older kids had teased her about being rich now. Isaac was furious. This is exactly what I was afraid of, he said, pacing the apartment after Emma had finally cried herself to sleep. She does not understand why people are being mean. She did not do anything wrong. I know, Sophia said, her heart breaking. I am so sorry. I should have handled this better. How? You cannot control the media. No, but I can control how we respond. An idea was forming in Sophia's mind. What if we gave them the story on our terms? One interview, one article, where we explain who we are and what our relationship is. Take away the mystery and maybe they will leave us alone. Isaac considered this. You think that would work? It is worth a try. And if I do it through a reputable publication, one that will treat us fairly, we can at least make sure the truth is out there. They talked to Emma about it the next morning, explaining that they were going to talk to a newspaper so that people would understand their story better. Will they stop being mean after that? Emma asked. Some of them might, Isaac said honestly. But some people might still be mean or say unkind things. That is just how some people are. But we are going to be strong together, okay? We are a family, and families stick up for each other. Okay, Daddy. Emma looked at Sophia. You are part of our family now, right? If you will have me, Sophia said. Forever and ever? Emma asked. Sophia felt tears prick her eyes. Forever and ever. The interview was scheduled for the following week at Sophia's grandmother's house. The reporter, a woman named Jennifer Chen from a respected business magazine, was professional and kind. She asked thoughtful questions about how they met, how they made the relationship work despite their different backgrounds, what their plans for the future were. I think what people do not understand, Sophia said during the interview, is that money does not determine worth. Isaac is one of the best men I have ever known, not despite being a mechanic, but because of who he is as a person. He is an incredible father, a skilled craftsman, someone with integrity and kindness. Those are the things that matter. And you, Jennifer asked Isaac, how do you handle dating someone with this level of wealth and fame? Honestly, I forget about it most of the time, Isaac said. When Sophia is here, she is not a CEO. She is just the woman I love. We make dinner together, we help Emma with her homework, we watch movies. Normal life stuff. The money is just not relevant to our day-to-day lives. What about you, Emma? Jennifer asked gently. How do you feel about all this attention? Emma, who had been coloring at the coffee table, looked up seriously. I do not like that people are mean, but I like that Sophia is here. She reads me good stories and makes my dad smile a lot. The article came out 2 weeks later, and it was everything Sophia had hoped for. Fair, honest, painting them as a real couple dealing with real challenges. The headline was simple. Love without labels. How Sophia Bennett found what money cannot buy. The response was overwhelmingly positive. People related to their story, saw the genuine emotion in the photos that accompanied the article. The invasive media attention did not disappear completely, but it died down significantly. Life slowly returned to normal, or as normal as it could be when one half of the couple was a billionaire CEO. Sophia continued splitting her time between Maine and New York, but Maine was clearly her home now. Isaac's business continued to grow, and he was finally able to afford the new equipment he had been wanting. One evening in late April, after Emma was in bed, Isaac surprised Sophia by taking her hand and leading her down to the garage. "Where are we going?" she asked, laughing. "You will see." He led her to where his truck was parked and gestured to the hood. There, spelled out in bright letters of some kind of reflective tape, was a message. "Sophia, will you marry me?" Sophia's heart stopped. She turned to find Isaac on one knee, holding a simple ring. It was not a huge diamond, not the kind of ring a billionaire would typically wear, but it was beautiful in its simplicity. "I know this probably seems crazy," Isaac said. "We have only known each other a few months, but Sophia, I love you. Emma loves you. You make us both happier than I thought possible. I do not have much to offer you except myself and my daughter and a life that will probably never be as exciting or luxurious as what you are used to. But I promise I will love you every single day for the rest of my life. So, Sophia Bennett, will you marry me?" "Yes," Sophia said, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, absolutely yes." Isaac stood and slipped the ring on her finger, then kissed her as if they were the only two people in the world. When they finally broke apart, they were both crying. "I love you so much," Sophia whispered. "And you are wrong. You have everything to offer. You and Emma are everything I want." They went back upstairs to find Emma standing in the hallway in her pajamas, looking guilty. "I was supposed to be asleep, but I wanted to know what Sophia said." "She said yes, pumpkin," Isaac said, scooping his daughter into his arms. "We are going to be a real family." Emma squealed and wiggled until Isaac put her down, then ran to Sophia and hugged her legs. "You are going to be my mom." The question hit Sophia right in the heart. "If you want me to be." "I do. I always wanted a mom, and I wanted it to be you." The three of them stood there in the small hallway, holding each other, and Sophia felt a completeness she had never imagined. This was what she had been missing. Not a husband or a child in the abstract, but these specific people, this specific love. They planned a simple wedding for June, just 2 months away. Sophia's assistant nearly had a breakdown when she found out, insisting that a wedding for someone of Sophia's stature needed at least a year of planning. But Sophia was firm. She wanted something small and meaningful, not a media spectacle. They decided to have the ceremony at Sophia's house in Maine, with only close family and friends. Emma would be the flower girl, wearing a dress she picked out herself. Isaac's uncle, who had owned the garage before him, would officiate, having gotten certified online for the occasion. Sophia's parents flew in from Florida, and to her surprise, her father and Isaac hit it off immediately. Jonathan Bennett had been a working-class kid who made good, and he saw something of himself in Isaac's determination and pride. "He is a good man," her father told her the night before the wedding. "I was wrong to judge. You chose well." The wedding day dawned clear and beautiful, the kind of perfect June day that felt like a blessing. Sophia wore a simple white dress, elegant but not ostentatious. Isaac wore a suit, looking handsome and slightly uncomfortable in formal attire. Emma wore her chosen dress, pink with sparkles and a crown of flowers in her hair. The ceremony was short and sweet, full of laughter and tears. When Isaac promised to love Sophia forever, his voice broke with emotion. When Sophia promised the same, she meant it with every fiber of her being. But the most emotional moment came when they exchanged vows with Emma. Sophia knelt in front of the little girl and promised to love her and care for her, to be the best mother she could be. Emma promised to be good and to share her dad. Everyone laughed through their tears. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and Isaac kissed Sophia, Emma cheered louder than anyone. The reception was held in the backyard, with food from local restaurants and a cake from the bakery in town. There were maybe 50 people there, a mix of Isaac's friends, Sophia's family, and people from the community. It felt perfect and intimate and real. As the sun set and string lights came on, Isaac pulled Sophia onto the makeshift dance floor for their first dance. Emma insisted on joining them, standing on Isaac's feet as they swayed to the music. "Happy?" Isaac asked, looking down at his new wife. "Happier than I ever thought possible," Sophia said honestly. "This is everything I did not know I wanted. Good, because you are stuck with us now." Best decision I ever made. After the wedding, Sophia made some changes to her professional life. She promoted her COO to co-CEO, sharing the responsibilities and making it possible for her to spend even more time in Maine. The board grumbled, but could not argue with the results. The company continued to thrive. She and Isaac decided to keep both houses. The main house became their primary residence, but they kept the apartment above the garage when Isaac had to work late. And Sophia kept her penthouse in New York when business required her presence there. Emma adjusted beautifully to having Sophia as a permanent part of her life. She started calling Sophia Mom within a month of the wedding, and every time she did, Sophia's heart swelled. 6 months after the wedding, Sophia and Isaac sat down with Emma for an important conversation. "So, Pumpkin, how would you feel about having a little brother or sister?" Isaac asked. Emma's eyes went wide. "Really, a baby?" "Yes," Sophia said, her hand resting on her still flat stomach. "A baby, you are going to be a big sister." Emma processed this for a moment, then grinned. "Can we get 2, like twins? That would be more fun." "We do not really get to choose," Isaac said, laughing, "but we will see what happens." As it turned out, Emma got her wish. Sophia was indeed carrying twins, a boy and a girl. The pregnancy was not easy and required Sophia to step back even more from the company, but she found she did not mind. Her priorities had shifted completely. The twins, James and Sarah, were born in early spring, just over a year after Sophia had first knocked on Isaac's door in a snowstorm. The delivery was complicated, requiring an emergency C-section, and Isaac did not leave Sophia's side for a moment. Emma was besotted with her new siblings from the instant she met them. "I am going to teach them everything," she announced seriously, "and protect them from bullies, and show them how to build the best snowmen." Life became beautifully chaotic. 2 newborns and a now 7-year-old kept both Sophia and Isaac busy, every moment. The apartment above the garage was too small for their growing family, so they moved permanently into Sophia's house. Isaac continued running the garage, having hired enough help that he could keep more reasonable hours. Sophia eventually stepped down as CEO completely, becoming chairman of the board instead. It gave her more flexibility and allowed her to focus on what really mattered, her family. On the twins' first birthday, Sophia found herself reflecting on how much her life had changed in just 2 years. She stood on the deck of the house, watching Isaac and Emma play with James and Sarah on the lawn below. The ocean sparkled in the distance, and the air smelled of salt and pine. 2 years ago, she had been a billionaire with everything money could buy and nothing that really mattered. Now she was a wife and mother, living in Maine, and she had never been happier. Isaac came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" "How getting lost in a snowstorm was the best thing that ever happened to me," Sophia said, leaning back against him. "I still cannot believe you drove all the way out here in a blizzard wearing Laubautins. Hey, those were good shoes. Expensive, too." "And completely impractical," Isaac said, kissing her neck. "But I am glad you did, although I am also glad you have learned to dress more appropriately for Maine weather." Sophia laughed, looking down at her jeans and sweater and sensible boots. "I have learned a lot of things. Like how to change diapers and make pancakes and fix a carburetor. You do not know how to fix a carburetor. I could learn if I wanted to." "I am sure you could. You can do anything you set your mind to." Isaac turned her around to face him. "Have I told you today that I love you?" "Only 3 times. You are slacking." "Then I love you. You are the best thing that ever happened to me and Emma, and James and Sarah." "You know that, right?" "I do," Sophia said, reaching up to cup his face. "And you are the best thing that ever happened to me. You taught me what actually matters. You gave me a family and a home and a life worth living." They kissed, and in the background, Emma called out that the babies were trying to eat grass again. They broke apart laughing, heading down to rescue their children. That evening, after the kids were all asleep, Sophia and Isaac sat on the porch with glasses of wine, watching the stars come out. "Do you ever regret it?" Isaac asked suddenly. "Giving up so much of your career, moving up here, all of it?" "Never," Sophia said firmly. "Not for a single second." "Do you ever regret letting me into your life?" "Every day," Isaac said, and when Sophia looked at him in shock, he grinned. "I am kidding. Best decision I ever made, letting that half-frozen woman in fancy shoes into my apartment. You are terrible. You love me anyway." "I do," Sophia agreed. "So much." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, and Sophia thought about the journey that had brought them here. From that snowy night when her car died to this moment, with 3 sleeping children inside and a husband beside her and a life full of love. She had traded boardrooms for playrooms, designer clothes for practical ones, a penthouse view for an ocean view. And she would not change a single thing. Years later, when Emma was in high school and the twins were in elementary school, someone asked Sophia if she missed her old life. The question came at a charity gala in New York, one of the few business events she still attended. "I do not miss it at all," Sophia said honestly. "I built a successful company and I am proud of that work, but my real success is my family. My husband who works with his hands and loves with his whole heart. My daughter who wants to be a veterinarian. My twins who are wild and funny and keep us all on our toes. That is success. That is what matters." The person who had asked looked skeptical, as if he could not quite believe a billionaire would give up power and prestige for something as ordinary as family. But Sophia did not care. She had learned that lesson in the best possible way. That night, she flew back to Maine and arrived home late. Isaac was still awake, reading on the couch. He looked up with a smile when she came in. "How was the gala?" "Boring," Sophia said, kicking off her heels and climbing onto the couch beside him. "But I survived. How were the kids?" "Emma has a new boyfriend apparently, or at least a boy she likes." The twins tried to convince me that ice cream counted as dinner. The usual chaos. Sophia laughed and snuggled against him. "I love our chaos." "Me too," Isaac said, kissing the top of her head. "Though I especially love when the chaos is sleeping and it is just us." Smooth talker. "I have my moments." They sat there together, and Sophia felt that same sense of rightness she had felt from the very beginning. This was where she belonged. Not in a Manhattan penthouse or a corporate office, but here, in this house by the ocean, with this man and their children. Sometimes the best directions were the ones that led you away from where you thought you were going and toward where you were always meant to be. All it took was a snowstorm, a knock on a door, and the courage to admit that what you thought you wanted was not what you needed at all. And as Isaac pulled her closer, and the ocean whispered against the shore outside, Sophia knew without a doubt that getting lost that snowy night had actually been finding her way home.